Juliet Schor and I visited the Fort Greene section of Brooklyn with Caroline Woolard, who lives in a house with 8 roommates.
That you take responsibility for the house together. I cook on Tuesday nights, and there's always dinner every night of the week. And I only have to go grocery shopping once every 2 months because there are 9 of us.
That grocery shopping is also community-based.
We all shop at the consumer cooperative, which is called the Park Slope Food Co-op. If we purchase lots of food together as a cooperative, the price goes down. And because we all have to work at the co-op 3 hours a month, we don't have the same labor costs as other grocery stores, so the food can be even more inexpensive.
Caroline is an example of the kind of person Juliet Schor would call a plenitude practitioner.
People who are able to free up some time in their lives to do other things than earn money.
The website Our Goods, which Woolard helped create, was born of that same spirit, to fulfill a variety of needs while building community without having to exchange money.
Our Goods is a barter network for artists and craftspeople, designers and activists. Anyone with an independent project, we realize that people might not have money, but they have a lot of skills and expertise that they want to share with one another to get projects done.
Barter is a growing phenomenon in our society. What's interesting about it is that the historical impediments to barter, so it's hard to make matches, that problem has been solved by the internet.
Next stop, the Brownsville neighborhood, which is also in Brooklyn, but far more blue-collar than Fort Greene. Here, even in the first week of December, some very healthy-looking collard greens are growing in the community garden run by Project Eats.
I know this neighborhood has an enormous amount of public housing, high unemployment, low graduation, high school graduation rates. If you were to look at the community from a demographic point of view, Project Eats looks at things from an asset place. So what we see is all the assets that are around here, and one of the big assets are lots like this.
I have a recent book I've done of case studies of Plenitude practitioners. It's people who get involved in community-supported agriculture, maybe for health reasons first, because they want healthier vegetables and want to eat more vegetables. So we're actually seeing it in more places than we might imagine.
Including urban neighborhoods in New York City, where Project Eats depends on young people who bring skills and enthusiasm and who are comfortable with a non-traditional farmer identity.
I leave the farm, I go to my apartment. It's a different lifestyle. I'm not living at my site. I'm, paying rent in New York City, and I get a paycheck. I'm a nonprofit organization. I'm not directly dependent on the yields that I'm producing here.
Much of what is grown in these urban gardens is sold 6 months a year at neighborhood farm stands at locally appropriate prices. Project Eats also farms an acre and a half on New York City's Ward's Island in the East River. Much of this kale is sold to Fresh Direct, the online grocery delivery service. And visitors to the Brooklyn Museum can see an urban garden on the museum grounds, a way to use art to raise awareness of a new way of living in the city.
It's all about being able to perceive other possibilities, the capacity to use what you have to create what you need.
We found another outpost of the Plenitude movement in still another Brooklyn neighborhood, Carroll Gardens, at a shop where people can begin to reimagine clothing.
I think Brooklyn is at the center of this. People start making their own 2 sweaters out of 3 and 4, and I've seen all sorts of applications of what people do with old clothes.
People who are making clothes out of materials that have already been used, so not using virgin materials. They're engaged in these activities not just for utilitarian purposes, not just to save money or to make friends or to reduce their eco-footprints, but they're also doing stuff that they love. They're getting tremendous joy out of living in a different way.
To be a Plenitude practitioner, it helps to drop all assumptions about income and working hours.
I work for money 2 or 3 days a week, and then the other days I do work, but it's volunteer work, so I work for charities, and I wouldn't be able to do the kind of volunteer work that I love to do if I had a very expensive rent and expensive food and expensive lifestyle.
The Plenitude model does not rely on economic growth to provide well-being for people. We have an obligation to create well-being without, I think, that kind of expansion.
not only without economic growth, but also without the expectation that housing is a speculative financial investment.
I'm now very interested in models for affordable housing and affordable commercial space. It's important that it would never be resold for a lot of money because we want to keep neighborhoods affordable so that we can have teachers and artists and social workers and all kinds of people without big salaries living in our community.